first presentation of first 1.5 hour, 1 hour is very simple, to give you an overall idea that how the what PMP looks like and what are the expectations from you when you are a project manager, PMP certified project manager, and what are the bases that we are looking at once it is about the PMI. So, where is it? So what do you understand? What do you think? What is the job of the project manager? Who are the project managers?
Project manager is responsible for managing the project, to run the project, initiate the project, and also the scheduling the project.
Yes, so these are the technicalities that you are looking at once you are talking about the projects. In terms of project manager, when we see PMI's definition, they call them as a change agent. So whatever happens, whenever you initiate any initiative, whenever you start any project, there is always change happens within an organization. And you actually make that change. It cannot happen that you run a project and the status quo will remain maintained. So whatever project you will do, status quo will always be challenged. They will ask, people will be questioned, jobs will be redefined, the processes will be restructured. All these things will happen whenever you take up any project. So this is one of the very important things, that you are not your job is not to just to deliver a project, because once the definition that you told me, or that is generally everybody is thinking that our job is related to the project, to deliver this. No, our job is to make that project workable. Our job is to make sure that the project that we are doing, somebody uses it. Our job is to make sure that the project that we are trying to deliver is well aligned with the business value that organization is looking for. We are not space. Our project is not in the space. So whenever we will do any project, it will hit the organization. It will hit some of the stakeholders, and that is where you have to do the change management. One second, somebody is trying to log in, but he is unable to. Okay, coming back. So this is the first thing that you actually do, is to disrupt the status quo within an organization. That is the first thing that you do as a project manager. Then obviously being a project manager requires a lot of skills. Some of those are technical skills, which you have actually identified: manage the project, doing the planning, making sure the scope is right, get the cost control, everything. So these are your technical skills. These are required to manage the project technically. Now there is a very important area, or I would rather say 40 to 60% ratio. And 60% is your general skills, your soft skills, which is business knowledge, interpersonal skills, leadership skills. You as a PMI's project manager is sitting at the top. So there is an expectation that there are subject matter experts under your management, and they will deliver and they will do whatever is required and you as a project manager is sitting and having a understanding of the breadth of the project. So what is cost control manager is doing, what is procurement manager is doing, quality manager, everybody, do you have those subject matter experts with you, and you are sitting at the top making sure they all remain integrated. That
Okay.
the business knowledge comes in, that is where the interpersonal skills comes in, and that is where the leadership skills come in. Most importantly, you yourself have an idea in your life that we all want to pay less and get more out of the project. We want to pay 100,000, we want Mercedes. We want
Yes.
to pay less and we want to have a. So that is where you have to keep influencing the stakeholder. The reason that we are in the project, the reason somebody is investing in the project is stakeholders. So we have to keep them happy, number one. But obviously there is we have constraints: time, cost, and schedule. Time, cost, and scope.
Scope.
Not deliver everything in the time and the money that has been provided. So this is very important, that you have to create, you have to manage and create very positive and engaging relationships with your stakeholders, so that the stakeholders actually trust you, so that you can manage their expectations. You have to tell them that in 100,000 you cannot expect Mercedes. In 100,000 there is an expectation that what car you can buy. So this is your job. So coming out of the technicalities, which is cost, time, quality, resources, communication, move up, and then you do the management of in the breadth. So you are talking with the stakeholder, you are talking with the sponsor, you are talking with the NGOs, you are talking with the procurement department. You are trying to make sure that your project remain viable. One of the challenge I am sure you all you must have seen or faced is that when the project is initiated, there is a lot of excitement. Okay, but by the time time passes by, the excitement goes down, and sometimes me and the investment stops.
Yes.
Why? Because as a project manager, you fail to keep your project viable for the company for their future. So in the till PM Book 5, you were more of a technical project manager. In the PM 6, they have moved you out from technical project management to the leadership and the business. And in the PM Book 7, they have completely moved you out from the technicalities of the project. Okay, so if you go on my website and you check the blog on the PM Book 7, which I will also share today, you will realize that PM Book 7 is a complete different beast. They are completely moving out from the technicalities, and they are moving towards the general skills. They are moving towards the management as a strategies, management as a, okay, whatever you want to do it in the technical stuff, but keep the project benefits aligned. Once you are talking about the project benefits, you are actually talking about the business. Because many a times, I'm sure you also must have seen that there are projects done, but the sponsor or the investor do not get the benefit out of it. So your job is to make sure that your project delivers the benefit that the stakeholder is expecting from this project when he has actually initiated it. So this is very important, and that is where PM Book 7 is completely reshaping the job role of the project manager from processes to people. So right now we will come into this. So right now there is a complete different focus in the examination, and in the PM 7 the focus is moving out from processes to people, and that is where I am afraid that most of the technical project managers will start failing the exam. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Technicality will remain only 50%. The 50% will come business. And the challenge with the technical project managers are they are not linked with the business. They are
Business, exactly.
dealing with the sponsors. They are not dealing with the budget. They are not dealing with the stakeholder. They are focusing more in terms of very closed impacted people, not the people who are impacted on a longer term or on a cycle. So that is where I am afraid that the PM Book 7 will be challenging.
Mostly the technical project manager are focusing on the, you can say that planning.
Yes.
They are focusing on the quality and control. They are focusing
Yes.
on the closing. But
Yes.
most of the time, like I have an experience on 10 years, but I never ever worked in the cost management. I never ever worked in the costing, how to do the costing. I know how to deliver it. I know how to initiate it. I know I have a 3 and 4 resource in my hand. So how to plan the project, how to deliver it. Okay. And I know how to make a quality and control, release changes, and these so many things are there. But the cost is not in my hand most of the time. So me as what I have done in my past, or what I am doing now, is like a technical project manager.
Yes.
You can say
So
that
these things will become challenging. I mean, in terms when the PM Book 7 will get in place, because moving more towards people, they are moving more towards business coming out of the processes.
and in the PM Book 7 is agile is more powerful in the PM Book 7. They have more.
Yes, they said it's a 50-50% obviously. So it is more of the, I mean, they will be taking more focus on the agile. Right now it is 5 to 10 questions, not more than that.
By the way, don't you think that after agile there are more challenges for the deliverables, because in the agile there is a sprint is there, and every time you have change requests are there, and your team is doing something, and new thing will become with a high priority. So deliverables will be become a more challenges, is it or not?
I mean, it will happen, but when you are into agile, life is not the way where actually the people train in the examination for the courses. There are always two tier of teams when you are working in agile. One team is working as the sprint to sprint basis, which is deliverable, and there is another team, the same part. I mean, there's a same group of the people, but there are some people who are actually moving 2 sprint ahead of your job. So you are delivering one thing, but you are planning at least 2 sprints ahead. And the understanding is that, okay, my current sprint is 2 weeks, but at the end of the 2 weeks, you cannot tell me what is going to happen. You cannot actually get the feedback out of the final deliverable in 2 days. Okay. So there is obviously business owner team, product owner team, which actually keeps itself at least 2 sprints ahead. That's what is going to happen. Otherwise, yes, in theory, it is every sprint means from the next sprint, you take the feedback of the current sprint, but it does not happen like this. You always move forward in terms of 1 or 2 sprint planning. Otherwise, you cannot deliver agile.
Correct.
So you have 4 jobs: lead the team, balance the competitive objective. This is very big challenge, because obviously, as I told you, you are working with constraint. There is no infinite flow of money, time, and schedule. Okay, so people wants to get everything out of the project. Problem number 1. Then there are stakeholders who have the competitive objective. So somebody wants to become the pricing head, pricing leader of the market. Another wants to become the quality leader of the market. Somebody wants to achieve the 20% of the market. Other person says, no, we want to achieve 5% in the quality one. Somebody says, okay, we need to go into if you divide the market into the upper level, where let's say you have Oracle and SAP, then you have mid-level where you have Microsoft, SAP BI, SAP B product, and Oracle Financial. Then you go into the third tier where you have all ODIs and open tier ERPs. So you cannot be in 2 markets together. You have to have a different product. So these type of competitive objectives will come in the project once you are talking with the people. So you have to make sure that you understand. So decision making is a very, very important skill that you should have in terms of as a soft skills for the project manager. Your communication. I have seen many good projects failed because of the bad communication. And I can give you example from my professional life that where I have got out of these failure projects, took them to the success just because of communication. Stakeholders wants rapport. Stakeholders wants to feel important. Stakeholders
and especially where we are working in KSA, the communication is more important.
yes. So
Otherwise, your project will be collapsed.
Yes. So you have to remain in contact with them. I do not believe personally and professionally also that you should be a bearer of a bad news. Now you have to convey the bad news. How? I believe in sandwich style. You should have two good news at the top and at the end of the email, or at the beginning, at the end. You have a bad news in between. You have to convey the bad news, but being abrupt, being what do you say, that we want to be very clear in our communication, we don't want to sweeten it. No, this is not the style of professional. Nobody wants to listen things in a way that is demoralizing. So you have to give the bad news, but you have to keep the moral up.
Exactly.
So communication is very important in terms of how you are communicating on the project. And obviously you are a very good project manager, your communication is very good, your team is doing amazing job, but your project is not adding to a value to the business, then your project and you are of no use. So it is very important that you as a project manager keep yourself updated that where the organization is going. What is the organization plan for 5 to 10 years? And in that way, previously it was like you have created a project and then you go into some exile and you deliver the project and come back. But now it cannot happen. With the market is changing way too speedy. So you have to remain in contact that that is why agile is very important, that you do not commit for a very long period, because market is changing every day. So you need to commit on a smaller scale. I still believe 2 weeks is very, very small, or 3 weeks is very, very small for a sprint, except if it is you are doing a development job. In EE, I don't think 1 week or 2 week or 3 week sprints work. Even in you are doing infrastructure, 1 week, 2 week, 3 week sprint will not work. You have to do a bigger sprints. You have to do in terms of, they say that you have to do many sprints. You have to do minimum sprints, 5 or 6 sprints instead of 2 weeks of 104 sprints in a 1 year. You can actually do only 4 sprints in 1 year of 3 months.
Yes. Moreover, what my understanding is the agile or the sprint concept is not working for the small projects. Like, for example, if I tell about my industry, I have an experience to deploy the call centers. The call center project is maximum 90 days, maximum, including the procurement of the hardware and each and everything, development of the IVR, development of the reports, development of the any other application. If, for example, if the management wants. So I don't think so that where you are doing your timeline is very tightly coupled with each and every task. So I don't think so the agile or the sprint concept will work for this small projects. Is it or not?
How long is your project usually from the beginning?
For example, if we are talking about the call center projects or the contact center projects, hardly or maximum, including the procurement also, hardware, it is maximum 90 days.
What are the chances of changing in between after the?
Most of the industries are using a patronized IVR. They have a self-service. Okay. They have a patronized reports. Okay. And the agent desktop application is also integrated with the CRM, for example. So that is also, all things are already patronized.
So you are actually doing the product implementation.
Yes, exactly. On the top of the product implementation, there are some request and requirement also there. Like, for example, some supervisor or some management needs some additional reports. So we have to develop the additional report also.
Which makes sense. So yes, obviously these are the product implementation. So you can define them in the sprint. See, the objective of the agile is to understand keeping the business owner and keeping the stakeholders part of your team.
Mm.
Have the have them part of their your team continuously for your meetings. Keep the feedback loop open, which is not usual in case of the fixed predictive projects. So you go
Uh-huh.
one by one, but here what you are looking at is obviously everything cannot be moved into agile. Construction
Mm.
can move into agile for to an extent, but obviously once you dig in, you at that point in time you need to know that what is the height, how many floors,
Mm.
what is the total area that you are going to cover. Yes, you can leave all the offices open and then somebody can come up and put the cardboards, but still there is a limit that you can go agile with anything. And that is where sprint zero comes in. Sprint zero actually defines the boundaries, actually define the infrastructure there on which you will start doing the sprint 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
So obviously we have multiple certification options when you are talking of the PM project manager, CompTIA Project Plus. This is more technical. Prince 2 is a framework which is mostly in the European areas, and then obviously PMP. But PMP is something that you will find everywhere. I mean, it is world renowned, and wherever you go, you will always have this certification available. Whereas if you do Prince, it is mostly in UK. If you do a CompTIA Project Plus, these are for very technical projects. And if you are doing the PPMs or MPMs, this is somewhere in the Europe again, but it is very, very few certification. It is difficult certification.
Okay.
Obviously, project management has been there for years and years. It is not something new. But what usually happens, what actually has happened, that how the Suez Canal, how the pyramids, and how the Taj Mahal has been constructed, nobody knows.
Mm.
We are still unable to, I mean, with all these technologies, with all these space explorations, with all these projects, we still do not know how the hell 2000 years back pyramids were constructed.
Correct.
We are still trying to find out that what has happened, what did they do actually? Okay, so the pyramids, Olympic Games, Great Wall of China is an example, Taj Mahal, Panama Canal,
Mm.
these all were there even before the PMI came into the PMI was born in 1969. Okay, PMI was initially born and identified and created for the construction projects. Okay, at that time they wanted to know that all these big constructions has happened and they have lost a great knowledge. So they started creating, they wanted to create something in terms of I think this is the slide, in terms of that, to make sure that whatever is happening around the world, they converge it to a point where we don't lose the expertise, where we don't lose the knowledge that how things have been. And that is where we do not, as a PMI, we do not believe in recreation of cycle again and again. We want to make sure that something which has been done, some knowledge that we have learned, it should be passed. It should be continuously moved to the next generation. So very important part of the PMP project management professional certification or the 49 processes is a lesson learned. What you have learned, what you have gained in terms of knowledge. And even if you see the book on page number, I think 658 or something, you have the names of so many project managers, around 7 pages of project managers, 24 into 3 columns. Those are the project managers whose knowledge is in this book. So if somebody is telling you that this book is not practical, or you may not able to use the 136 tools and techniques that are defined in this book, is wrong. Because all those project managers which are there, they are actually saying, yes, the book, the knowledge, the concepts that we have given or we have written in this book is applicable and we are using it. Okay?
Yes.
So project management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques. So PMP is the most important industry recognized certification project managers, and the only objective and the basic objective. So the certification does not make you good or bad project manager. That is one thing.
Okay.
Certification does not mean that you are good or you are bad. What makes you good and bad is your experience, your learning, your attitude. But why this certification then? So the most important part is the language. Most important part is that at least once you go into the project life, once you join some another company, we all speak the same language. We all understand the same language of project management. So if somebody is looking for the risk register, there is an expectation that, okay, Mr. Numan understand this, this risk register requirement. Somebody is looking for the scheduling, the team understand the requirement of the scheduling. So the most important part of this whole journey is that we all speak the same language of project management. So wherever you go, so if the project manager is asking something, you are able to respond to it because you also speak the same language. So that learn to speak the same language of same project management language which everybody is talking. So this is one of the most important focus or the benefit of the PMP certification. The other very important thing about PMP is you will see that most of the things and most of the processes that they will identify you are doing on your jobs, but they are ad hoc in nature. There is no chain in between that, okay, if you have done this process, what should be the next process? If you have finished this job, what is the next job that you are looking at? If you have finished this deliverable, who should sign this deliverable? So PMI plugs these gaps in your knowledge. Make sure that the chain is complete from the initiation to closing in a way that you do not need to jump here and there. Okay. So as I told you, it started in 1969, and from there onwards, obviously now we are in 2020. They are now having the PMP exam from home. I think they are now almost in 106 countries, in every country. And with this PMP certification from home, I believe they will go into the areas like Somalia, specifically in Africa, where they don't have the offices. And this is very important step that they have taken in terms of increasing their reach for the areas, which is like, I have some queries from the Ivory Coast and the areas in Africa, where they actually want me to establish their PMI center. I said, it is impossible that I am sitting here and establish the PMI center there, but they don't have any, but this online PMP from home will help them a lot. PMI has multiple certifications from PBA, from PGMP, RMP, SP, but they are focused with two. PMP is their flagship product, but they are more focused now on PMI ACP. And that is, I'm not sure how it is going to happen, because right now they have ACP as an independent certification also. And the new examination is also including 50% at least on Agile. So whether they are going to merge these two or it will remain independent, this I have no idea. But they are more focusing in the new certification, in the new book, more on Agile. But what they have done in the PM Book 7, they have disconnected themselves from the operations.
Okay.
So whatever you want to do, do it. They still have the processes, they still have the tools and techniques, but they actually trying to disconnect them from the operation. They are saying we want to engage the stakeholders. How do you going to engage it? I don't know. The book is not out yet. They are instead of they are talking about the project, they are talking about the benefits. So they are saying whatever you are doing as part of the project, your focus should be benefits of the project rather than what you are individually delivering as part of the project. This is the book that we are looking at. The first one was established in 1996, and now the latest was supposed to come in September 2020, but I'm sure it will be delayed because they have also delayed the exam change from till January 2021. So I'm expecting a change in terms of
Yes.
book change also. I mean delay. This is very important slide, and we usually forget at the later stage is it's a good practice for most of the project most of the time. Okay, so it is not a guarantee, number one.
Okay.
Say that whatever is written in the book and the process that is defined in the book is applicable to every project.
Yes.
And that is why every 3 to 4 years they come up with a new book, because there are changes are happening, and this is good practice for most of the project. And then there are new things happening. Now startup is moving up. Now the remote project management, remote all these things will be taking too much speed. I mean, in terms of implementation now, I don't think this flying and this airline industry will coming back in the next 6 to 8 months at least. So they would be looking more of the remote project management. They would be looking more of the part-time project management. So things are changing, market is changing, and that is why where every 3 to 4 years they have to come up with a new book. And that is why they say good practice for most of the project most of the time. So there might be times, there might be a project, there might be a situation where this book will not give you an answer. Generally recognized as a good practice. Okay, this is a standard definition, the definition of the standard, that most of the people have actually seen this book. Most of the project people who have actually used this process, they say it's a good practice. Good practice means if you follow, the chances of your success increases, but still there is no guarantee. Okay, so that is why if you see in this book, tailoring is one of the very important concept, because standard should be tailored as per the organization processes or the project requirements. So you need to identify what you need to use. So in terms of breadth or in terms of depth, you are responsible. This PMI there is a difference in it. PMI is not a framework, okay? It's a standard. PRINCE2 is a framework. Once you are talking about the framework, you have to do the prescriptive style, which means a doctor's prescription. You have to follow in letter and spirit. You have to follow how it is being defined. That is called prescription. So PRINCE2 is a prescription. You have to follow the process the way it is written. You have to follow the steps the way they are written. But this PM book is a descriptive. They tell you what to do, but at the end of the day, you as a project manager takes a decision that what fits best for my project. What are the tools that I should be using? What kind of depth that I am looking at? Well, let's say obviously it's an IT project. What kind of risk management do you do? Very little. We only have kind of a risk. What else? Nobody will die. But think, when you are in pharma, when you are in airline, when you are in construction, when you are in a military, your risk management will increase. Once you are in the space, space program, it's not only your risk, your communication will increase a lot because there is a delay in the communication. So you need to understand, okay, if this delay is 5 minutes, then the delay will become 10 minutes, then the delay will become 30 minutes. So obviously you have to understand these kind of communication. So all these things, the depth of the process is completely dependent on the type of the project that you are doing, the type of the project organization that you are in. So PMI believes in the descriptive style rather than a prescriptive style. Okay.
Correct.
So you will tailor it as it is required. So we are talking about 49 processes, 5 process group, 10 knowledge areas. 5 process groups tells you which stage. I mean, technically I'm using the word stage at this point, but process groups and the phases of the project are two different things. But just to begin something, process groups tells you where you are in the project, when. It deals with the timeline. So we are in the planning stage of the project. We are in the execution stage of the project. We are in the monitoring and controlling stage of the project, which is 5 process groups. They deal when they are used. What is the time that you are using? Knowledge areas, they define why are you using it. So I am identifying collect requirement. It means we are trying to figure out the scope of the project. If I am doing assigned resources or control resources, it means I am doing the resource management in terms of physical resources. So this is very important. So every process has two things. If you open the page 25 of your book, you will realize there are two relationships. One is the process group, another is the knowledge area for every process.
Knowledge area.
So initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling. I define all these processes, the 10 knowledge areas, specifically into 3 groups. One is the support processes. There are 5 support process knowledge areas: resource, risk management, stakeholder, communication, and procurement. Procurement and resources are 2 areas which will be heavily impacted by the organization rules and policies. Because every organization usually have resource HR department in place, facilities department in place, and procurement department in place. So your project will be too much dependent on these things. And if you see the book, and if you obviously you have seen it, you will realize PMI is not going into details and depth of it. They want you to understand the process, but they are not expecting you that you will do the hiring of the resources. They are not expecting that you will do the procurement of the resources. They are not expecting that you will do the procurement. You need to understand the process, because if you are expecting something to be $100, because that is the cost that you have identified as part of the project budget, you have to make sure procurement gets it in $100. But how they get it is something you are not dealing. So there are 5 processes, which knowledge areas, which are support knowledge areas: resource, risk, stakeholder, and communication. Then there are 4 project objectives. 4 cost, scope, quality, schedule. You receive the project objectives in it. You have to deliver project objective in the scope. Client will never ask you which resources you have. They will never ask you what is your procurement process, but they will definitely concerned with the scope, quality, cost, and schedule. So these 4 are, as I say, these are your main project objectives related knowledge areas. The 5 areas, the 5 supporting areas, which is resource, risk, stakeholder, communication, and procurement, they are supporting, help you to get the project objective. And then one is integration, which is actually your area, which is about the project management, which is about that you cannot hand over this area to anybody else. You may have a cost control manager, you may have a scope business analyst, you may have quality control manager, you may have the HR manager, procurement manager, risk manager in your team, but integration is your job. You cannot say, okay, please, you are the manager of integration, just keep on giving me the information. It will not happen. So and that is where the PMP is about the breadth, not the depth of the knowledge. You should know everything, but you are not expecting to do everything. So your job is to understand the language. Your job is to understand. So when the cost control manager is sitting in front of you, whatever he is explaining or she is explaining, it does not look like an alien to you. That is your that is the expectation that PMI has from you. How the cost control will happen, the cost control department will take care of it. How the quality control will happen, the quality control department will take care of it. You need to know what are the results that they will produce. You need to know what are the process that they are using it. How they are using it is their job. So we have initiation, planning, execution, and monitoring and controlling and closing. Initiation is about kick in. It is about go, no go. You are committing the organizational resources. You are saying that yes, now my organization is committed to deliver this project. Once you are committed to deliver the project, then you begin the planning. You need to identify what are we committed to deliver them. Yes, you are committed to, yes, we are going to play this football game. Fine, this is an initiation. But how? What is the team size? Who are your opponents? What would be the color of the jersey? What are the timelines? What are the rules? Who is going to play first? If this will happen, if the opposite team have made 2 goals, then what will be our situation? If we do the goal first, then how we are going to respond? All this is part of the planning. Okay, once you have the plan, then if the football game is a perfect example. You have the team playing, and you must have seen the coach shouting, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, yes, in the football ground. That is your execution happening, where you are on the mercy of the players who are actually playing. And then every now and then you ask, please 5 minutes, you call them back. What are you doing? You are not doing the process that we have agreed on. And then you do some monitoring and controlling, and you change it. Sometimes you get the defender in. Sometimes you get the forward person in. So this is how you do the monitoring and controlling. And at the end of the day, project closes, and you go back and you learn the lessons, that what is gone wrong and what is not gone, what went right for you, yes, and what worked for you. Okay, so we'll take 5 minutes break here, and I will try to see where are the other people if they today. So 5 minutes.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. One, you can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So the next is the knowledge areas, and obviously we understand the knowledge areas. Integration is about your overall coordination. This is your area. This you cannot hand over to anybody else. Then you have scope management. It deals with.
Can't hear you, sir.
Hello.
Your voice is chopping.
Okay, is it clear better? It is better now?
It's better now.
Okay, so once you are talking about integration management, this is the project manager's area. This cannot be handed over to anybody. This cannot be delegated. This cannot be expected that somebody else do the job for you. This is you as a project manager. You will integrate the whole project. You will integrate all processes. You will integrate your project with the organization. This is your job. Then you are talking about the scope. Scope is about what is required in terms of all the work that is required on the project. And one of the very important area is what you do not need to do on the project. Okay, that is also part of the scope management. Schedule is about timing, cost estimation is about planning, estimating, budgeting. Very important area in once you are talking about the project cost management is financing and funding. Okay, how you are going to finance the project and how you are going to fund the project and how you are going to make sure that you will control the cost of the project. Then you have quality, resource, communication. Communication is about, I mean, this is your job. You have a business analyst, you have the schedule manager, you have the cost control manager, you have the quality manager, you have a procurement manager, you have a HR person, you have a risk manager, you have everybody. But communication is your area. Communication stakeholder is like this, because to whom you will communicate. Stakeholder you will communicate. And that is where communication and stakeholder is unique to every stakeholder in the company, in the project. So the way you are communicating with the CEO, you will not communicate with the CFO. What you are communicating with the CFO, you will not communicate with the manager. What you are communicating with the manager, you will not communicating with the NGO manager. So your communication as stakeholder is very unique in terms of how many stakeholders you have on your project. Okay, and then obviously risk is about you are making sure that no project, no life, whatever we are living, that it is not risk free. Everywhere we have risk, so we have to mitigate the risk. We have to understand the risk. We have to identify how to make sure that the risk does not have the negative impact on our project. Okay, so these are the 10 knowledge areas that we have in our where 49 processes are defined. The another very important concept is that the PMI's PMP methodology is based on PDCA cycle. This is a to check and act. Okay, you plan something, which is a planning module. Then you execute something, which is do, which is an execution module. Then monitoring and controlling deals with the check and act. You check whether whatever you have executed, it is making sense. And if it is not making sense, you do some corrective actions. So plan, do, check and act is a concept from the Walter Shewhart, who defined, and based on that concept, the PMI's PMP is defined. So you can actually see that how the Deming cycle and the PMI cycle is making sure that the PDCA or a process group, plan is plan, do is execution, check and act is monitoring, controlling, and obviously you initiate it and you close it. So Deming cycle of PDCA and a PMI cycle of PMP 5 process group is same. It is based on the same concept: plan, do, check and act. You want to make sure that whatever you have planned, you are doing the same execution. If execution is working fine, then you go ahead. If it is not working fine, then you do some corrective action, some preventive action, some defect repair, some change request. That is how the plan, do, check and act cycle is going. Another very important concept that you should actually, what do you say, just make sure that you never forget this, that process groups and the project phases are not same thing. Once we are talking about the initiating, process groups is verb: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing. Project phases is like initiation phase, planning phase, execution phase. This is the nouns that you have in terms of project phases. In the planning, the project management process group, they are not sequential in nature. They are not sequential in nature, and they interact with each other. I am sure you are doing projects and you must be doing it that once your client is saying that, okay, you have the project, but they have not given you the final purchase order, you initiate your planning. Okay, if you are another very important thing, once you are talking about the talking about the PMP project management, you think about a very big project. It's a 2-year project, minimum 500,000 500,000 million project, and that is why you can see individual things happen. And mostly the example that I take is the construction of the housing society.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a big example. You have 200 villas that you have to construct, and then you have to have the common area, the prayer area, the park, the amenities, the utilities. All these things will be there. And once you are in the even in the construction projects, when you get the letter of intent, you don't have the final receipt and close. You start procuring the first fixes, because there is a lead time, there is an expectation. Once the client says, okay, you are the selected contractor, you start developing the wall, you start installing the walls in the within an area, you start ordering the makeshift offices, okay, and then the verification. And that is why they are interacting with each other. They are not sequential in nature, whereas the project phases are always sequential in nature. You may come back to any other process, the project phase, but they are sequential in nature. Whereas project management process groups, they are not sequential in nature. This is something you keep on actually interacting. Execution and planning, monitoring and controlling is interacting way too many times within one project life cycle. PMP eligibility, I don't think I need to explain it to you. You already have the eligibility with you with till 21 March 2021. So I skipped these two things. Application audit process. You have got the, okay, now you only need to apply for the exam. Schedule the exam.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I need to just only schedule my exam. That's it.
So it means you have already also passed the audit phase.
Assessment. Yes, audit phase.
You have an understanding how the exam would look like?
No, this is what I want to understand it.
Okay, so
that's why I was asking you the sequence of the paper. That's why I asked you.
Okay, there is no sequence of the paper. This is now they have divided the paper in the 2 sets of 2 hours. With, I mean, all the changes that they are doing, I like it. That is the worst change that they have done. This is the disaster that they have actually made. Now you have exam of 4 hours with a 10 minutes break in between. An exam is divided into 2 phases. So first phase, and then there is a second phase. Okay. So you have 200 MCQs which you have to do in 4 hours. There are 25 MCQs which are not scored. So they are just there to confuse you. Actually, what they are actually doing, they are testing that question with multiple people. So this examination is very important. It's a psychometric testing. It is not the one question, one number.
Okay.
Okay, it's a psychometric testing. Do you have an idea about the psychometric testing?
No.
So psychometric testing is they have some easy questions, some medium level questions, some hard questions.
Okay.
Okay. So just take an example in terms of that. If you were supposed to pass in 40% is passing marks. Okay. If you do 30 difficult questions, you will pass. But do 30 easy questions, then you will fail. Because every question does not carry 1 mark. It is about a psychometric. It is about a percentile. So if you attempt more difficult question and your answer to difficult questions are correct, then you may even pass with lesser number of questions. That is the concept, but usually it does not happen like that. Reason being, they have the same kitty, so everybody is getting same kind of difficult, easy and medium kind of questions. And it is said that anybody who is in from 61 to 67 percentile, they will be successful.
Okay.
Nobody knows the exact result, the percentage where you are considered pass. It's just an assumption that if you're able to do 61 to 67%, you will pass. Okay.
Okay.
It's very important. In terms of 61 to 67% of 200 questions is 135 if we go for 70%. 65%, 167%, 135. Now there are 25 questions which are unscored.
And we don't know what that question.
What those questions are. And maybe you are just so lucky that in those 135, you have those 25 correct questions. So you are actually talking about that you have only done 100%, 50%
Yes.
of the mark. So it is, I mean, it is an understanding that somewhere if you are able to do 150 to 160 questions correct, then you will pass the exam. Because obviously it is impossible that you can correct all these 25 questions. That is why they are there, because they are actually testing their weight, they are testing their inlet, they are testing their variability, whether this question makes sense to come into the exam or not. It is not, it may not, you might be an exception that if you do all 25 questions correct or all 25 questions wrong. So in a, for 200 questions, anything between 150 to 160 is a safe margin. Okay. This is where you actually could say that, yes, you will definitely pass the examination. Examination is about ability, your decision making, your understanding, and experience which you have from your professional life, and knowledge which is from this book. So it's a combination of all these three things. So they, yes, it happens that if you do 3,000 to 5,000 questions, you pass the examination because the questions are same kind of same concept. So if you, and that is what actually we are also doing. We will be trying to attempt 3,000 odd questions. The objective, but my objective is different of attempting 3,000 questions. My objective is that you are from IT. Fazuddin from IT, and fortunately this another person which is Boni is from IT. But it means none of us have any idea what is construction.
Industrial construction.
None of us has any idea what is manufacturing. Okay. But PMI says that once you are a PMP project manager, then this thing become independent. You become independent of this layer. It cannot happen. And the objective of doing the 3,000 questions is that you have got a fair idea of all the industries. You have got the fair idea of all the processes, that once you go into the exam, you don't feel, oh, I don't know about the construction. Now you cannot learn the construction, but we can focus our understanding of construction from the examination perspective. And that is what the objective is. Just to make sure that we have enough experience in terms of reading the questions, in terms of understanding the questions from other industries, that we able to sit in the examination. But create a good ability and good knowledge through this course. There is no penalty of wrong question answer, so you just can answer any many minor more, but whatever you have in terms of whatever is left at the last stage. So you will definitely get 1 or 2 correct answers. Now you have, from the 1st of May, they have started this 10 minutes break. 2 hours, you finish the exam, then you take a 10-minute break, and then the second part comes in. So I have not yet taken the feedback of it. I need to still take the feedback of it because I have not seen if anybody has done it. Second, I have also not seen anybody yet who has taken the exam from home. So I have no idea how it is going to look like. They say there is a video which is actually telling you that how it is going to happen. So they check the whole environment from the camera, and then sitting, and then he's keep looking at you that what you are doing. PMI in 2015, if I'm not wrong, have started changing their focus from technical project management to strategic project management and leadership. That is where this PMI triangle comes in. Okay, the first implementation of this PMI triangle came in as a PM Book 6. In the till PM Book 5, everything was technical project management. There was a very small area where they talk about the project manager needs to be non-technical to deal with the non-technical areas. But now in the PM Book 6, there is a whole chapter on the project manager and the whole area which is defined that you as a project manager should be focusing on the general skills, on your soft skills, on the areas which are beyond the technical project management. And this PMI triangle is now taking a complete circle with the PM Book 7. Okay, so PM Book 5 all technical, PMI triangle is only 16% non-technical. Now PM Book 6 was 20-25% non-technical. Now in PM Book 7, they have touched 50% non-technical. Okay. The new exam that they are changing the format is 50% non-technical. 50% processes, 42% people, and 8% objectives. So they are now this thing that they have started in 2015, it has taken a complete circle, and now they are focusing on you being the leader of an organization rather than leader of the very small project that you have within your organization. And that is where I do believe, because I am training for last 10-12 years and I have seen many of the technical project managers, none of you are dealing with the clients, none of you are dealing with this with the other stakeholders, none of you are dealing with the sponsors, none of you are dealing with the soft skills as part of the soft skills. Even if you are dealing with the client, you are dealing in a capacity of the project. You are not dealing in the capacity of the relationships. You are not dealing in the capacity of the success and the failures of the project. You are not dealing in the capacity of the benefits materialization. You are doing, okay, I have this part of the project. This is the status of the project. Please tell me the requirement. I will tell you the answers. You are not keeping the weight of the project on your shoulders. And that is where they are actually taking a PMI out of the reach of the technical manager.
Even the ROI is also not considering for us.
Yes, this is the change that is going to happen. So as I told you, 42% people, 50% processes, and 8% business, 50% of the agile that is going to come in. So it will be significant changes that we are expecting in terms of the examination. And obviously now PM Book 7 is also there. CCR cycle is simple. In the 3 years, you have to show 60 hours of study. You have to tell them that you are linked with the profession, not your job. Your 3-year job will only give you 8 PDUs. Remaining, you have to show them that you are linked with the profession. So PMI itself does many seminars in the year. Many of them are online. Okay. There are many other companies who does this. So you can actually gather and gain all this knowledge through the internet. But once you are done with your certification, then we can talk about it. Okay.
Inshallah.
Job is not the solution to get your project management certification renewed. This is, you have already read PMP handbook. This is what I have shared with you.
Yes, you already did.
This is the content outline. This is very important. Exam is based on this content outline. Exam is based on the initiation. What are the expectations of initiation? What are the expectations of planning? What are the expectations of execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing? So reading through knowledge area is easy because you start the break of the scope and then you start building a wall, and then you have a full wall of the scope. Exam is in the process group. From where I don't see any difference, because once there is a question in the exam, it does not talk about the process group. It does not talk about the knowledge area. It talks about the scenario.
Scenario.
It talks about the situation that you are in. It talks about the tools and technique. It talks about the problem in hand. It does not say that you are an initiation process. This division is only for the marking. So if the question is dealing the initiation kind of a thing, that you are talking about the investment, you are talking about the selection of the project, you are talking about the initial risk management, you are talking about the initial identification of the risk stakeholders, it means all these 7 questions will be part of planning. So in the examination paper, absolutely there is nothing like that it is initiation or it is integration. You would never know that thing. Okay. So you don't need to worry about it. And it has no impact on anything. But once, I mean, God forbid, somebody flunk or fail in this area, but if they say that you are weak in planning, you will see on page number 25 of your book that the first 7 chapters mostly dealing with the planning.
Yes.
So if you are below, you have failed the exam or you have passed the exam, but planning is below target, it means you are weak in the first 4 or 5 chapters.
And also planning is the only process who touch all of the knowledge area.
Okay. Then if you have a problem in, let's say you have failed in execution or you have passed the exam, but the below target in execution, it means the problem of procurement, the problem of risk, the problem of resources. These 3 have the processes in execution. Very simple. If you are failing monitoring and controlling, it means the problem is in risk, quality, and the procurement, and because monitoring and controlling of the schedule, cost, and time is very easy. Monitoring and controlling of the risk, monitoring and controlling of the quality, monitoring and controlling of the procurement is very difficult. The reason they are difficult is we are not doing it. None of us are doing the procurement. We are not doing the quality controls. We don't have the risk management processes. If we have those within our company, there are other departments who are dealing with it. And that is why these areas become challenging for us.
Yes.